Hi, so this is the first class of CFA. So students who started studying, just about to start studying, planning to start studying, etc. are supposed to be doing this lecture. This is not a demo class or something like that. This is the first class of your CFA curriculum. So make sure that you attend this lecture very, very attentively. So the first thing we're going to start off with is the syllabus. So this is very important because see, when you study, for example, a particular chapter of the entire out of the entire curriculum, you have to know how it is connecting to the entire syllabus, how it is fitting into the entire curriculum, because look, studying a chapter singularly is going to be a challenge. So that is the reason why we need to understand the syllabus, where I've discussed every single chapter in detail. And obviously we have subjects like equity, portfolio, fixed income, derivatives, real estate and all is there, in alternate investments, commodities, real estate, etc. and private equity and all. So you have to understand the curriculum. So I've gone chapter by chapter in the syllabus lecture. So you have to understand the syllabus very well. I've asked students very often that, for example, why do you want to do XYZ in your career? So in college seminars, first year college seminars and all, and they give me an XYZ answer that I want to do this or I want to become this. And the second question is, do you know the syllabus? What are the subjects you're going to study? And 99% times the answer is blank. So it is very important when you're dedicating that amount of time frame, that amount of energy, etc. to studying something. It is very important to understand what you're going to be studying and whether you like it and how to go about it. So that is going to be a question over here. So that is why the syllabus part is important. Also, because you have to know the syllabus before you start studying, otherwise you're not able to understand the context of a particular chapter as how it is fitting into the entire curriculum, entire syllabus, and how it is related, because there will be interconnectedness between the chapters and all. So it is very important to understand, to have a very macro view of the curriculum. A question that I get very often is with respect to whether students who are not good at maths will be able to manage or not. So firstly, we don't have so much of maths, we have more of statistics over here, and that is not a problem because everything is taken care of from scratch. Of course, economics students will be, economics honor students will have maybe an edge or relatively find certain chapters in economics easier. Engineering students or students good with mathematics might be finding a couple of chapters from quants easier. Students with a commerce background might be finding a couple of chapters from financial reporting easier. But otherwise it doesn't matter, because finance is not, it is a different subject altogether and not an extension, or it's not I wouldn't say it is synonymous with commerce or something. So therefore, when you're studying, you have to understand the syllabus in detail, and then we'll be able to move forward. And finance does not mean stock market alone, because even if a company has to take financial decisions, for example, a company has to decide how to borrow funds, how to manage funds, which project to apply, which portfolio management, be it equity investment, be it corporate finance, wherein financial decision making of the company and all. So everything is going to be part of finance. So CFA would be about finance, right? So you have to attend the syllabus lecture in order to understand the content in detail. Next, we move to the exam structure and results. We have 3 levels, computer-based exams. Level 1 will have 90-90. So each of the levels is a 4.5-hour exam. Level 4.5 hour with 2 parts, 2 hour 15 minutes paper, then 2 hour 15 minutes paper with a half-an-hour break. Level 1 is 90-90 MCQs, level 2 is 44-44 MCQs, it is in a case study format, and level 3 you have objective answers, typed answers now, not written answers, and 44 MCQs in the second part. So the 3 levels, 2.5 levels full MCQ, and the 1/2 of the third level is going to be your typed answers, written answers, typed answers as you can call it. And we are going to discuss the exam structure in detail to understand exactly how to approach it, and the results are going to be approximately 40-45% for the level 1 and level 2 exams, and level 3 is going to be somewhere close to around 50% or so. And of course, how to evaluate what is the minimum required score in order to pass the exam, etc. So how the results look like, a sample of the result, etc. is going to be discussed in this lecture. Next, we are going to move towards the registration. So one, you need a passport, you need to pay the fees, which is going to be somewhere close to $2,200, $2,500 or so for the entire level 3 levels exams and all. And of course, you'll have to register online, and how the registration process is and everything. You need a passport to register, and the institute is located in the US, but the exams take place across the world, and you would be, obviously the designation is credible across the world, as in you have the designation, you can use the designation CFA against your name across the world. The next question that I get very often is when to begin preparation. So if I have to give you a one-word answer, it is going to be around 6 months, I would say, if I have to give you one single answer. But with respect to, you know, whether you're a working professional, what kind of duration you have, what amount of time frame is required, how much of practice and study and etc. is required, lecture hours and all are required. So that all is covered in the when to begin preparation lecture. And I've discussed a lot of situations, so you'll have to evaluate for yourself as to what amount of time frame are you going to be requiring and when should you begin preparing. So how much time is it going to take? The next lecture we discuss is where to study from, because there is so much of material out there, because it gets very confusing to where to study from and where to practice from. If you study from multiple places, you'll get confused and you cannot exhaust all the practice resources, because it's just you have so much of information and content online. So where to study from, how to exactly go about studying and all is what we discussed in the next 2 lectures, and how to study for the exam, because these are professional exams. You have to understand that there is a 40% pass rate. Out of 100 students, 40 students are going to pass and 60 students will not pass. If you're like taking, let's say, a chartered accountancy or let's say an MBA exam. So when 2.5 lakh students take a CAT examination, approximately 4,000, 6,000 or let's say 7,000 students will get in the top 10 colleges. And so you have to understand that. So how do you approach the exam? How do you study for the exam? These professional exams and all becomes very important, because you're giving that kind of time, energy, effort and everything to the exam. So obviously you'll have to understand the right approach for these kind of exams and all. So this is going to be very important, and also you cannot be overconfident that, you know, I have worked in this sector for these many years, and therefore I am. You cannot be overconfident about it. So you have to understand the right way of studying. The next thing is your scope. So we'll be discussing the different job roles, designations, etc. that can apply the knowledge of CFA in your working life, businesses, because all the financial decision making when it comes in portfolio management, equity research, iBanking, anything remotely and closely related to finance and business is going to be requiring. So we'll be discussing that in detail in terms of in the scope lecture. The next lecture is going to be about the lectures, as in about the classes and all, how I conduct the classes, how do we go about it, what is going to be the flow of the classes, how do we do the doubts and all, what material do we provide, and all of those things are going to be discussed in this about our lectures. There is no shortcut. So there is no shortcut that, you know, this chapter, this question will come in the exam. Obviously not. One, that is unethical. Second, that is not possible. And obviously that is not going to get you anywhere. So there is no shortcuts to success. So when I'm talking about, for example, in our lectures, there is a very important lecture I do, that is how to attempt the exam. So the exam attempting strategy in terms of managing times, in terms of, you know, there is another lecture, how to study and practice once you start preparing. So there is an exact lecture, how exactly you're supposed to be studying, making notes, practicing and all of that. And at that point of time, I'll make sure that, you know, your accuracy level has to be very high in the exam. Because say, for example, you've got 90 MCQs in level 1. So in that case, every question is 1/90th the weightage. Right, 90 MCQs, so 1/2 of the exam, 90 MCQs. So the weightage of every question is quite high. So you're not supposed to be making a lot of silly mistakes. So how to avoid that? So when I talk about the exam attempting strategy, or how to revise, or how to study, etc., or whatever it is done, it is not going to give you any shortcuts. I'm going to be rather strict, I would say. Of course, the first lecture is more of a serious kind, because it's kind of putting you into the mode of, it's more informational and it's putting you into the mode of studying and all. But once we get going with the classes, we'll get comfortable and all that. But yes, you have to be serious, and I'll be pushing you, and I'll be very nagging kinds with respect to studying and reading and all of that. So beyond studying also, there are a lot of things I'm going to be pushing you towards. The next thing is the eligibility part. So if there's any student who's confused, so normally you can start preparing in the second year and register for the exam in the second year, but you can take level 1 in the third year. Or you can register in the third year for level 2 and take the exam. Level 2 can be taken only after you're a graduate. Level 1 can be taken only in your final year. And if you're already a graduate, or you have 3 years, 4 years worth of experience or something, then you're already eligible to take the exam. So that is not a problem at all. Obviously, you're not supposed to be falsifying any information and all. So how exactly the eligibility works and everything, and what are our requirements for registering on the institute's portal and all, that is discussed in the eligibility lecture, since some students had a confusion. So this is basically the first class. If you're a graduate already, you can skip this eligibility lecture. It's not going to be relevant. But otherwise, you need to start exactly from the top. You're going to study the syllabus lecture right now, and you are going to continue with all these lectures right away. So start studying, and yeah, let's get started. So start with the syllabus lecture and complete the entire lecture. This is the first class, and then you will start with your quants and other chapters and all that. Right? All right. Start studying.